I'm curious if there's a negative impact of older generations staying in the workforce longer in terms of,
Yeah.
is there a negative impact on up and coming generations, such as climbing the ladder more slowly, suppressed wages, or anything else? Like, what have you seen in your
Yeah.
studies?
Chase
That's a
always
great
Chase always asks this question when I'm on the show.
that's a great question.
Talk
Well,
about
it's a
that.
question a lot of people.
I
A
mean,
lot
my
of people
boss
ask.
is on the show. He's older than me, and I'm working my
Yeah,
way through the organization.
the duty to get these people out of the way. Go ahead.
Sorry, Richard. Go ahead.
No, no. The notion, right, that more jobs for the elderly means fewer jobs for the young, has actually been a very common notion, in one in which many European countries acted on back in the 1970s and 1980s. Most of Europe had very high youth unemployment. They got this brilliant idea that if we lower retirement ages and increase the generosity of public retirement benefits and essentially bribe old people to retire, right, we'll make room, we'll create jobs for young people. But it didn't work out that way, because the way you create jobs is not by increasing the payroll tax burden on younger people.
That
Look,
kind of seems intuitive.
economists actually have a name for this notion. It's called the lump of labor fallacy. The fallacy is based on a kind of static notion of the economy. There's a fixed number of jobs, so you have competition between age groups. But in fact, the more jobs you have, the more people you have earning money, right? Which creates more demand for goods and services, which then spurs the creation of more businesses and more jobs. Now, to get back to your point about can you climb the ladder? This is at an economy-wide level. At the firm level, or maybe even the sectoral level, right? If the full professor won't retire and there's only one full professorship in whatever it is, right? The associate professor is never going to get the job if Bob won't leave.
I'm going to walk away.
So they're certainly at the firm level, that can be an issue, but at the economy-wide level, it isn't.
Can we effectively grow our way out of these issues at a generational level?
I think that's unlikely. The trends that have depressed fertility are pretty deep-seated. And it's true, demographers should be humble. None of us predicted the post-war baby boom, and none of us predicted the baby boom's end. But it is also true that fertility has been beneath replacement and fluctuating in a fairly narrow band in the rich world for in every country for a generation, in some countries for a couple generations. So I wouldn't count on a rebound in fertility. And even if it did rebound, right, that baby doesn't become a worker for. So higher fertility may well be part of the long-term solution, but we don't really know how to bring that about. Certainly creating a better economy for millennials and for whatever we're calling the generation that comes after them would be helpful. Immigration could certainly help. At the margin, net immigration is a big advantage for aging societies. It can help fill in the gap left behind by contractions in the native-born workforce. But long term, unless the rate of immigration is high and rising, it isn't really a solution to the aging challenge per se. It's not going to alter the ratio of workers to retirees in the long run, because immigrants, unless you throw them out, have the unfortunate habit of growing old in their own turn. So it's an important part of the solution. If countries can culturally, economically, culturally, and socially assimilate migrants, the United States historically has been very good at that. So have the other traditional immigration countries like Canada and Australia. Canada has made that the solution to its aging challenge, a high and rising level of skilled immigration. But I don't see I don't see that in the pipeline right now in the United States, and the pandemic is likely to make an increase in immigration even less.
Yeah, that was one of the papers that we did in our series
Yeah.
last year. Doug Holtz-Aiken and Jack Garis wrote that paper from American Action Forum, and we were making the case, and still do, that a higher level of immigration was warranted in this country, perhaps more economic based, um, uh, but
Yeah.
but but certainly not a magic solution. And I think we should think of it as an economic issue given our demographic challenges. Sometimes people think of it as a quote unquote solution to Social Security trust fund solvency. And
Yeah.
the issue there is what you raise is that, yes, on a 75-year basis, you bring in more workers up front and it's going to look good. And if you're not counting the benefits that go out to them after the 75-year window closes, it all looks like it does something much more positive than it does.
It certainly helps on the economic side.
Yeah.
Right? It's less clear that it reduces the long-term entitlement burden. But then again, the more affluent we are, right, the easier that burden will be to bear.